And the next session we're going to have is hearing voices of our employers. And we're very, very fortunate that we have two representatives from two of our employers today. So I'm going to call up Dean Coe and Coralie Cross. If they could come up to the stage, come and take a seat on the couch. Yes, thank you. I said to both Dean and Coralie and to Ozzy earlier on is that if you're nervous, don't worry about it. You can't see a thing out there. You can't see anybody. So it's just us having a conversation. It was really important to the organisers that we had an opportunity to hear the voices of employers, and we did get to hear a few yesterday. And then we're going to hear also from some of your workers following on from this. And I'll put my glasses on because that'll make a big difference to the panel. One of the things about what you're going to hear from Dean and Coralie are examples of the things that they are doing in their particular organisations and strengthening the relationships with their particular workers. So they're going to share some of the experiences with us, and then we're going to have an opportunity to have just a conversation and also a chance for you to ask them any questions. And so first up, we've got Dean, and Dean is the General Manager from Thornhill Horticulture and Viticulture Contracting, and he's going to share what's happening over there in their space. Dean, welcome.
Thank you. Well, tēnā koutou. Thanks, Karen. I'm going to talk about something which is in its infancy for us, and it's goal setting and the potential for us to be instrumental in helping our RSE workers realise their potential to transform from seasonal work to lasting wealth. And maybe one of the ways to do this, because we've got a good mix of people in the room, from our Pacific partners to employers, and I'm sure a few of us who draw a salary. Just ask yourself, if you started a new job next Monday that earned 5 times as much as you're earning today, what would you do with the extra money? So, are transformational earnings a reality for our RSE workers? And what are the facts? So, I've used the World Bank's Specific Labour Mobility Survey, which is 2023, and it covers Tonga, Vanuatu and Kiribati. So the examples on the screen are basically reflecting the reality, and that is that, okay, transformational earnings are a reality, and you know, the multiplier, if you like, the transformational opportunity is real. So if our teams become rich, then that's a good thing, right? If they're earning a lot of money, and we've established that, are they good at saving? And if we do a comparison between our RSE teams and our equivalent New Zealand workforce, the answer again is that transformational savings are also a reality. So RSE workers are very good savers. 58% of earnings are sent home versus 34 is the average savings from an average New Zealand household. So what do we do, and what's the opportunity? We think that that's helping to build capability. And I really like the quote from Paul when Karen was going around the room from Gilbert and Oka, which is that we see our opportunity as creating an environment where people can take the opportunity to transform, and that's really what we're focused on. So for us, this is in its infancy. We've been setting goals with our teams for a few years now, and we see the same targets, and they're great. It's family, education, housing, communities. Some working their land and occasionally building businesses. So we see that building understanding is the area where we've the highest potential. And it's great to see actually over the last couple of days that there's a lot more resourcing being put into this. So I guess that's probably the learning for us so far, is that setting a target, creating a purpose, and having a goal is really where it all starts. There's a lot of support around that, whether it's the North Village of Learning, DT Global, which is obviously new to the space, Pacific Collaborative Futures, Village to Village, which is a micro-funding business mentoring program, and multiple employer-related support. So our experience so far is that that conversation starts with goal setting. So is it real? I mean, I think the easiest way to articulate that is the young man on the screen. Talia's one of our Samoan team. He's worked with Thornhill for 5 years, and in that time he's built a house, started a family, built a business, and now employs 1.5 full-time workers in Samoa. He's a very talented young man. He's an artist, and he's taken that and harnessed it with a love for vehicles and paintwork and panel work. And I mean, the example on the screen was a project that was 4,500 tala, and represented 1.5 to 2 weeks of work. So he's got a business that's working well. He's got contracts with the Samoan government, and he's got a lot of private clients as well who are very happy with what they're getting from him. So we may never see Talia again in Thornhill, and we'll miss him. But ultimately, though, we'll also celebrate his success. 5 years, not a bad result. From worker to creating wealth. So I guess our learning so far is that it starts with a purpose, a target, a goal, and we've heard multiple times throughout the last 2 days that we all share a responsibility to ensure that the RSE scheme achieves its objective of a triple win, and that's where workers, employers, and our respective communities all come together to achieve our goals. Thank you.
Dean, thank you very much. There's a great example there, and there's going to be an opportunity for questions at the end. I omitted to mention at the beginning that we originally had a third panellist, Ali Lawn from Bostock, who unfortunately is unable to be with us due to a family illness. But I'm very pleased to introduce our second speaker for this morning, who is Coralie Cross, and Coralie is the leader of People and Culture at Apata. Welcome, Coralie. Okay. And while Coralie is speaking, she's got some photos there that are just going to loop over, so you'll get a little bit of the flavour of what's happening at their place. Thanks, Eli.
So I'm from Apata. We're a kiwifruit post-harvest business based in the Bay of Plenty. At the peak of our season, we employ over 1,000 people, and RSE is really key for us in order to enable us to be able to have a successful harvest. We've been in the program for 18 years and absolutely love having our RSEs returning year on year. Today I'm speaking to you about our new RSE village called Amukura, and the really cool thing about this particular project is it was actually built in partnership with a local iwi trust, so I wanted to share a little bit more with you about that today. We all know about the changes that happened to accommodation requirements. What we did as a business is stepped back to really take a look at how we were housing our RSEs, not only now but also how we would continue to house them in the future. We had already built an RSE village on the Katikati side of town. That was a bit of a slow and steady build over 5 years, where we're now housing just over 70 RSEs. Something that we wanted to do was do something similar on the other side of town. With accommodations needing to be attached to orchards, what we did as a business was reached out to some of our stakeholders, some of our growers, to see if there was any interest in going into partnership for this RSE village. We were lucky enough to have an organisation called Paengaroa North K Trust reach out and show their interest. They've been a grower with Apata for a number of years, so we already had a really strong relationship with the Trust and the iwi, and they have RSEs out on the orchard that we manage, so they've got about 60 hectares, so they came to know a lot of our teams quite well. What they wanted to do as part of that partnership was create a home away from home for our RSEs, which was fantastic news for us, and ensured that we were both really clear about the importance of the RSE scheme, but also why it was so important to create something great for our RSEs as well. The setup's pretty simple. There's always a lot of questions about how it works. The Trust own the whenua, or the land, and they actually designed and built the RSE village as it looks today. They wanted to create a really communal marae style building for our RSEs to come in. There were a little bit of concerns around the initial design, why we absolutely loved the concept. We knew that we were going to have a real mix of cultures in there. At the moment, we've got Thais, Fijians, Samoans, so we were a little bit uncertain how that communal living was going to work. Our other village, Bosselmans, has very separate living kitchen areas for the individual teams. Some of the other challenges that we had along the way, the build was constantly delayed. Anybody who's built anything will know what that feels like. And with Hort, a lot of that was down to weather, so we were used to that as well. I think probably one of the more difficult things for us to start with was how the build was managed. So the Trust ended up bringing in a project manager. So from concept stage, there was really a lot of interaction and discussion around how that would look. Once the project managers came in, we lost that connection a little bit with the Trust and the iwi. So we had to do a little bit of working around that middleman and getting back to that connection with them, so we could make sure that we were aligned, made sure that we were continuing to all be on the same page, have the clarity that we needed throughout the progress. And that worked really well when we started to talk about handing over the keys as well. We worked closely with the Trust around fit out and design to make sure that we were both still aligned with what we wanted the outcomes of that village to be. Today, we've got this beautiful, it's up on screen, I forgot the photos were up there. We've got this beautiful RSE village, and, much to, we were absolutely stoked that it did work. So any worries, any concerns that we had about that communal living were squashed when we got our teams in there. It works really well. It's a beautiful space, and we've been able to utilise that space for more than just the people in the village. We recently celebrated Matariki together as a wider group. The Trust came in and shared their stories as well and connected with our teams, which was fantastic. I think the key to our success was understanding that we both had shared purpose, shared values, making sure that we continue to be open to different ideas and communication and regularly connecting. And I think the win out of the whole project isn't so much the buildings themselves, but I think it's bringing together different ideas, different values, different businesses, and getting the best outcome for everybody that was involved. Thank you.
Firstly, I want to say thank you to you both and to your organisations for the efforts that you've put into the space, and obviously you're getting some return from that, both in, well, people's satisfaction for a start, all around. And you both talked about the importance of having shared purpose and making space for that. I guess the question I've got for both of you is, how do you maintain a balance between guiding workers but also ensuring their independence, right? They are grown-up adult workers here to do a job. You're all in the same space, but how do you manage that balance? I'll go to you first, Dean.
Yeah, it's a good question because it's not something that you do across perhaps other workforces, so you're right. And why would you? I think the difference is that our core objective is basically creating a earning opportunity. And the difference is that we spend a lot more time, obviously, with our RSE workers than we do with our other workforce. And so that's why I quite liked the analogy that we heard earlier this morning, actually, around creating an opportunity and an environment for learning. And I think that's very different from telling people or suggesting what people, we're not into investment advice, that's just not our space. It's just creating the right environment for people to understand what their opportunities are and then putting that support where it's requested.
Awesome, and you highlight the point that this stuff doesn't happen just by magic, right? You have to consciously work at it. How about for you, Coralie? How do you manage the balance?
I think it's about understanding the guys and their needs and, really connecting with them. And I have to acknowledge Tammy, my RSE manager that's in the room today. She's great at making sure she understands our team's backgrounds and where they come from and also what they want to get out of their time here as well. Just getting to know the people and taking them on a path and giving them a little bit of guidance and hand-holding along the way.
That's great. Have you got an example? What was a challenge along the way and how did you navigate it? A challenge in the work that you're doing with your workers?
I think resourcing is probably the biggest challenge, in particular the transition from whakamasema to Noa and getting that learning network re-established, and it's great to see that's now across 15% of the RSE teams and growing. And that's probably the biggest thing is further evolution of those opportunities so that our teams are able to take the opportunity when it presents. It's very hard to schedule something when you're priority, and let's be honest, most of our teams are very focused on their earning opportunity, and so we need to be really adaptable about how we provide the opportunity. One thing's to create the right learning environment, but then you need to have the flexibility. So if it's a rainy day, the guys can get in front of a tutor or a resource and learn what they want to learn.
Yeah, I was reflecting on the term that Mariama used yesterday about these labour mobility, but now we've got capability mobility, which is a plus out of the scheme. Yeah. Coralie?
Just one challenge. There's plenty of challenges. I think for us, though, we do have such a variety of countries that are coming through to Apata, and for us it's connecting with the managers that they're working with on a daily basis and taking them on the journey that we've been on, getting them to understand, how we can work with the guys to make sure that they've got everything they need so they're set up to succeed. And that can be a little bit tough for them, so it has been a bit of a journey, but we're getting there. And I think that we're especially seeing it out on Orchard, where RSEs are new for us. They've primarily been in the pack house, and we've seen some great relationships out there.
This is not a scheduled question, so when you look at me and say, where did this come from? I've just been reflecting. My husband's the production supervisor at Rocket Global with a really multicultural workforce, from Asian through to Pacific, through to Māori, through to European. And as a Cook Islander, he often reflects on some of both the joys and the challenges of having a multicultural workforce. Any reflections on that? And I heard the both of you talk about the mix of workers that you have.
I think it's fantastic, and I'm not sure if everybody saw one of the first slides that I popped up, which is our Apita brand, and what we did was a project last year around trying to make it pop a little bit more and bring in all the different cultures of, that's it, thank you, of Apita into one drawing. And I think the incredible thing for us has been is the way that everybody in the business has really resonated with this logo and the brand and the update that we've done. I think the team love having that mix of cultures, the different thinking, the diversity, and I think it makes us who we are. I hope that answered your question. I'm not sure it did.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 8 different nationalities within our team, and probably similar numbers to Apita, actually, you know, roughly 1,400 workers across 2 regions, and we don't see issues. We see great support within the communities for the respective nationalities, and it's fantastic, and that's, you know, that's a regular thing, but particularly, you know, through areas or periods of hardship, we see the benefits of that. The big focus for us has been creating our own culture and making sure that as a team we understand what's important for us, what's, you know, our purpose and our mission, that our values reflect that, and that we live those. So, and there was, I think that's, it's not to say that we don't value the respective cultures within our team, we do, and we celebrate those, but I think it's equally important that your business has a culture which is embracing that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you. Now's the opportunity for you to ask Dean and Coralie any questions at all about what they've shared with you this morning or their experiences as employers. And I'm just checking, who's today's runner? Bex. So we've got a question over to the left there, and it looks like it might be our professor, if my eyesight is any good. I've got a mic here. I could do with the exercise. I'll come down here. You probably could.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks very much for 2 really, really interesting and insightful looks at your views of your particular operations. Coralie, I'm interested in your partnership with iwi and your, I think, very, very bold venture to build an RSE village. It's been very interesting as an observer of the RSE over the last 18 years or so to hear quite a lot of talk about building villages for our workers. But the costs of that have proved to be incredibly high for those who've gone beyond just sort of the concept. Can you just explain how the partnership with the iwi works? Does the iwi own the land and the buildings, and do they sort of rent it to the company, or how does it work?
Yes, so they own the land, which is right next to their orchard. They designed and built the village itself, and we have a long-term lease with the trust. We're very lucky to acknowledge that.
Over here.
Hi, I know you guys will have many, many interactions with your staff and your RSE teams. Do you guys want to highlight just one of your favourite stories from that?
Of interactions. I know our team absolutely love the RSE games every year. We often have our wider production and orchard teams The locals come and cheer the guys on, we throw a barbecue, we get right in behind it. So that's probably one of my personal favourite interactions that we have with the guys, seeing our teams in one of their favourite places and doing what they do well.
Yeah, I mean, we have lots of positive ones, but I'd actually quite like to use an example of communities and teams coming together. And we had one of our Thai team pass away earlier this year, and seeing teams and communities come together through something like that is actually really humbling. And yeah, I mean, that just shows, I think, the strength of what I was talking about before with communities. It basically amplified everything that was good about, the support and the way the teams work together. And it wasn't just the one team; it was everyone together. So, yeah, it might seem at the other contrast to what Coralie's just shared, but equally moving for me anyway.
Just a reflection, and it was a great question, that often I hear people talk about the relationship stuff as being the soft stuff. And yet it seems to me from all yesterday and from this morning, it's what makes the difference. But the fact that people work at it actively and don't leave it to chance, you get some good results, such as the examples that the both of you have been sharing. Thank you. Other questions? Over the back there.
Yeah, Dean, it was very, very pleasing to see what you're doing there at Thornhall, and a bit of a segue into the next section. Part of your financial literacy and training towards utilisation of what they earn, does it involve saving for retirement with Provident funds or any other vehicle?
It does. MPF and multiple other means, I guess, are avenues for that. We see opportunities beyond what's currently being offered for that. And it's one of the reasons I touched on being rich, which is defined by earning a lot and spending a lot, versus wealth, which is using those riches to buy an asset that continues to earn. And we saw some information from Dr. Bedford yesterday about the life cycle, if you like, of the earning potential and age demographic for those engaged in RSE, and that's it's very young, and you've got 40 or 50 years where you need to be doing it. So I see that as the biggest opportunity. I haven't answered your question directly because we aren't doing enough yet. That's the biggest opportunity that we see.
One over here.
Kia ora. Thank you both for your presentations. Really enjoyed that. Coralie, this is a question for you. Could you speak to whether the workers form connections mostly within the accommodation and at work, or whether there's also connections with the non-RSE horticulture community, like churches in the area and other people living in the town? Or if this is something that you're wanting to work towards. Thank you.
Yeah, the teams primarily build their relationships in the workplace and within their accommodation. That's not to say that it doesn't go wider. They're absolutely very much part of church groups in the areas, and we also have many of our teams who go out and join local sports teams. If that's not manageable with the work that they have on at a certain period, they'll just go out and join practices, and we're in a great community where they're welcomed, which is fantastic.
Thank you. This is the question to Dean. In regards to helping people grow as your slogan, some of the workers have won the quota. Is there a possibility that you'll be able to assist to help these people continue working with Thornhill with the job offer for the quota?
Yeah, thanks. I assume I'm talking to Tomasi. I can't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, it's a great question. do, Tomasi, and we have that opportunity across our other RSE workers as well. So for us, it's always a matter of balancing that. We've done that historically, and we'll continue to do it. Is the answer?
Thank you. I'm sorry that I have to wrap up this panel, but we've got one more slide that we just wanted to share that both Coralie and Dean and also Ellie, just one key learning for people to take away. So if we could just do the next slide, thanks, team. No, I take it all back, it's not there. So actually, I'll share it, and these are the notes that they sent to me. The question we asked the three panellists was, what's one learning that you'd like to leave with the audience here? And so from Ellie, and she was going to be here talking about their fair trade experience, but she said, built on trust, led by workers, and driven by shared decision-making, fair trade has shown that when people have a voice, they create lasting change for their communities. And from Dean, and he spoke about this morning, that goal setting and education are powerful tools for helping people grow, build confidence, and create better future for themselves, their families, and their communities. And finally from Coralie, that real success is the relationships built over shared goals. Amokura is an example of what can be achieved when organisations come together, combine their strengths, and stay committed to working through the challenges along the way. It benefits the business and the wider community. I want to thank both Dean and Coralie for coming up and sharing their experiences and responding to the questions. And we wanted to wish you both and your organisations all the best for the journey that you have ahead with RSE. Please give them a hand.